Today on Nerd and Normal, education, storage and Android devices. What can go wrong and how can it be fixed?
Welcome to Nerd and Normal with Matthew and Gareth, opening your mind to the world of technology. So let's get started.
Matthew, how are you today, sir?
Enjoying myself today, Gareth. Trying to get through the world of technology one day at a time once again.
Nerd and normal. At least it's not Romeo and Juliet, because one of us would have to kill the other.
Well, I can wear long hair sometimes.
No, hey, if ever I switch, you're not on the list. Moving right along. Look, I know it's a couple of weeks ago now, but last week when we spoke to the doctor, I did mention we should bring up Naplan. Naplan testing, for those that are not quite sure of it, if you don't have a student in years 3, 4, 5, blah, 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 it's meant to test students, to test their efficiency in literacy and numeracy. And there was a major technological meltdown because in 2022 it went to digital rather than use a piece of paper and a pen and a pencil. So what happened? Why did it happen? And how do we fix it?
So unfortunately, there's more than just the one issue right now with Naplan. There's actually a couple of main issues. The one that happened on the day that actually caused all the grief was the organisation in charge of producing the Naplan results is a private company. And as you'd understand, private companies try and keep their costs to an absolute minimum. So what they did is they tried to keep their online costs to an absolute minimum and didn't pay for enough bandwidth for their systems. They knew exactly how many people were going to be using the online service, but they didn't pay for enough speed and data to allow all those people to go onto the computers at the exact same time all around the country.
So does that prove that cost cutting doesn't work?
We're now bringing props today, are we? Yes, cost cutting doesn't work all that well when you've got private companies trying to save money. Now, most of the year it's not a problem for them, but when those things occur this time of year, they need to pay a bit extra for 1 month, and then they can provide the service they're supposed to be paying. They're supposed to be getting paid for because they're being paid by the government organisations to provide these test results. But they're then trying to reduce their costs all year round, and in doing so, ended up having this massive issue that affected the entire country. Some computers got on, but not everyone, which is a problem. That's the problem that affected everyone. There's a second problem they're facing right now as well. The second problem comes down to the program they're using, their software, the Naplan secure browser. It's a problem and a half here. It's actually
it's not secure, or
the problem occurs. It's a modified off-the-shelf program. These sort of secured programs are used around the world in education purposes. That way children can't cheat. They can't use spell check. They can't do online research, doing an exam, all those sort of things you don't want kids to do. That's what they're provided for. So Naplan they buy this off-the-shelf program. They're modified to meet what they need to for their servers and the Australian standards and all those sort of things. But there's an issue with this off-the-shelf program that's affected all computers for the last 6 months. So Microsoft, in late last year, updated Windows 11 to add more security. And your antivirus company is also doing the same thing, adding more security into their packages to make sure computers are as safe as possible.
Yep.
So what's now happened is this secure browser is checking to see, am I on a completely clean computer? Do I have full control of the whole system from here to there? And unfortunately, Windows and antivirus programs are saying, no, you don't. You cannot have full control of his computer because that's not safe and secure for the individual using it. So when certain people with certain antiviruses like the Bitdefender program that I recommend everyone use and the latest version of Windows 11, they then can't use the secure browser on their computer at all, which means that these schools are now having to provide the students with laptops to use for Naplan because the Naplan people are putting their head in the sand saying, no, it's not our problem. It's your problem. It's the students' issue. They shouldn't have this security package or this up-to-date software. No. You need to give the kids complete, unadulterated control of their computer, though. We can install our secure browser on there, and they can do the test, which is a completely wrong situation to be. It's the same as my daughter came home from school yesterday saying, Dad, can you give me the password for the computer so I can do stuff on it? Because her IT at her school said they need the password for the computer. That is not going to happen. My daughter is 10. There is no chance of me giving her full administrator control of that computer. One bad move, the whole computer is a virus-infested device.
So what should Naplan do to make every student in all of the schools years 3, 5, 7, and 9 have easy access? What should happen?
So at this point in time, they need to look at the program they're using and find out from the makers of the off-the-shelf version why it's got this problem, and then update us, that way it will work properly. There's not enough testing going on. The multitude of different hardware devices, of different software packages, of different versions of Windows requires regular checks from software makers to make sure their programs work on all the different devices possible. Now, they can't do every single individual one, but they can get an overall idea. These devices with this version of this program have this issue, and there's a quite large number of them, so we'll make sure our program works. But instead of going back to the software maker and saying, hey, we need you to modify the program a little bit, they say, no, it's not our problem. It's the kids' problem, the school's problem. They can deal with it.
Well, clearly it isn't the school's problem and it isn't the kids' problem. Whoever supplies the process, surely they have the responsibility of fixing it. And is there going to be a prohibitive cost in them doing so? Or why won't they do it?
In theory, there wouldn't be, because the people who provide Naplan, they've paid for this program. So they should be able to be supported by the people who made the original program to modify it at no real extended price, because they're paying, no doubt, a subscription service for this program.
But I'm the normal here, and I can't quite get my head around what you're saying in terms of how do you fix it? Make this normal understand. How do you fix it?
So the Naplan people have to get a hold of the people they've bought the program from, which they're paying for, no doubt, every year. Say, look, we've had complaints about this software. We need you to fix it as part of our service agreement we've got with you while we're paying for this program. But rather than doing that, which then requires them to do some work and contact people saying there's an issue, they'd rather put their heads in the sand and say, nah, not going to do anything. It's fine. It's perfectly okay. But the kids' computers need to be less secure for the kids' benefit.
So I haven't caught up with yesterday's news, but the 1.3 million children who couldn't access it, have they been now able to access it?
Yes.
And if so, how did they?
So literally the following day after the whole thing went down, the people providing the Naplan service paid the extra money to provide a more connection options into their system. It was just a case of they didn't pay for the money to provide those connections into their system.
I've just got to, for those parents who have children at school and they're not in years 3, 5, 7, and 9, all schools, and I was one of the people in many, many years ago now responsible for creating the questions on the literacy side, says he, not being able to say it, the literacy side of Naplan. So I know how it works, and I know its effectiveness, and I know it's very important to help schools determine the level of literacy and numeracy for their students in their school, and it helps parents. But let me emphasise, it is not the only method of assessment. There are many other assessment tools that each school has for each and every year. So, the children are in good hands when the organisation for assessment is done within the school. I don't want to necessarily compare my child against my neighbour's child in a different school. I want to know how my child is doing in my school. So Naplan is not the only tool. There are others. But if Naplan technologically has an issue, then whoever provides that service must fix it. Fair enough?
Definitely. And if anything, go back to pen and paper. It worked for us.
Okay, back to pen and paper indeed. It's the only way to actually determine whether you're literate or not. All right, SSDs. Now, you've led me to believe that SSDs now have almost a fail thing built into them.
Unfortunately, so SSDs, solid state storage, we're all used to hard drives being the spinning things inside our computers that store all the data. Now, the old mechanical drives, which are many and plentiful, used to always be in every computer. These days, they're less and less there. If they failed because the mechanical parts failed, or there's like a record player, so the head literally, this head going above a disk, if that hits the disk, it causes grief. The data on those drives can be recovered. These days, however, people's computers having SSDs or solid state drives, there's no moving parts in these things at all. They are mechanically nothing. They're just a whole lot of chips. Unfortunately, however, they have limited lifespans. You can read and write to them, and that's both read and write to them a certain number of times. It's in the hundreds of millions of times, but there's a limited lifespan to these things. Unfortunately, the way Windows works is it likes to write things to the computer's hard drive constantly. And in doing so, uses up those limited read and write life cycles, if you will, of the hard drive. And as it does that, as you fill the hard drive up with more and more files, not just you, but Windows as well, the amount of free space becomes smaller. So when there are problems on the drive, the chips have their life runs out, it moves files to sections of the drive that aren't dead. And the same thing with mechanical hard drives. It always moves files around. What's happening lately, though, is the huge number of files that Microsoft puts onto Windows and updates and changes and does with temporary things. It's now using up more of that storage space and reading and writing more often. I'm now seeing drives that are 4 to 5 years old dying. And it's just the fact that there's no free space on there to move files. And when a solid-state drive dies, unless you can just see some files, if yours it's dead completely, you've lost everything off that drive, never to be recovered again.
So that worries me. If you're saying that my solid-state drive in my computer is going to at some stage die, and I've gone past the 4 or 5 years, so I'm close to death, and I don't want to be cremated, are you saying that all of that information that's on that hard drive has gone? How do I make sure it hasn't gone? What's the solution? How do I get out of that?
So the important thing is making sure you back up all the files on a mechanical drive. People make the mistake. You can these days at places like Officeworks and JB Hi-Fi and Harvey Norman, you can buy both a solid-state external hard drive and a mechanical USB HDD mechanical hard drive that plugs in via USB. The important thing when you're going to back up your files, put it on a mechanical hard drive, a mechanical hard disk drive. Because that way, if that suddenly dies, which they will die as well, mechanical things always do, you can get the data off that from a data recovery place. They are specialized in doing that.
I sadly, I bought a 4 terabyte hard drive, SSD hard drive, and I have backed it up. Now, is this a sensible thing to do? I've plugged it in. I've backed up the complete computer, and then I disconnected it. I took it out and put it in a drawer. Does that mean nothing's happening to that hard drive? And if I keep doing it that way once every fortnight or whatever, plug it back in, back up again, that I'm going to extend the life of that external hard drive that I bought?
Not just mechanical ones, solid state ones, it's both of them. Yes, the less you do things on it, the less reading and writing you do to it with a solid state drive, or the less mechanical movements there are for a mechanical drive, the longer it will last. Yes, that's the important thing. Unless you need it plugged in, you unplug it, you put it in a drawer. Okay,
which is exactly what I've done. What about temperature? Does that have an impact on a solid state drive's longevity?
Hugely. That's a good question there. Yes, it does. As a test, but as a consequence of what I did, I took one of my laptops years ago down to Canberra for a holiday, and it had both mechanical drive and a solid-state drive inside of it. I put it on the bed, on the doona on the bed, and it overheated. It overheated both the computer itself, which shut down, but also overheated that solid-state drive inside the computer and killed it. So yes, a solid-state drive needs to be kept at a reasonably cool temperature of around about 40 degrees, which is the reason why in a desktop computer, like the one that's pretty on my desk right now and near you as well, the solid-state drive would not be visible to you. It'd be underneath a heat sink to try and absorb the heat out of it and get the heat away from that drive, because heat will kill those faster.
Okay, so the drive that it writes per day or the total terabytes written are all going to impact on its life.
Exactly right. That's the main concern. Comes down to the more a solid-state drive is used, whether it be Microsoft doing it read and writes or you putting your own files on there, the less lifespan it has. And if your drive is more than 3/4 full and it's a solid state drive, my recommendation is stop filling it up, get your stuff off that drive and clean it.
So therefore free space also has an impact.
It does. More so on solid state drives than mechanical drives. Solid state drives need that leeway to allow for files to get moved off bad sections onto good sections. Mechanical drives need free space still as well, but not to that extreme.
Okay. All right. Now, I confess I have an Apple phone, iOS. Now, there's another thing called, and I'll never buy one, no offense, I have I don't, but there's also Android phones. Now, I believe Android viruses on the default home apps are causing a problem. Explain.
So people think they get viruses on their on their Android devices, phones or tablets, because they start getting ads appearing saying you've got viruses, you need to clean your tablet, you need to clean up your cloud storage. All these ads appear on these devices because they get tricked into installing what they call a new default home or default launcher app, which these things are created specifically to show you ads and scare you into paying for other programs. There are no viruses for Android devices or iOS devices. Phones and tablets do not get viruses. Let's clear that up straight away. What happens, though, is there's programs that affect mostly Android that try and show you ads and try and trick you saying you do have viruses. That way you'll fall for the tricks. You'll then pay these subscription fees for $10, $20, $30 a month in the hope you're not going to get these viruses, but the notifications still keep on coming and saying you've still got viruses, you've still got this, still got that, because these things, again, trick you into doing it.
Okay.
This one
I want to make it
Apple. Apple's
I
fine.
want to make it clear. Apple and Android, no phone can get a virus.
Exactly.
Is that right?
No
Why?
phone, no
And why
tablet.
can the computer get it, but the phone can't?
So eventually computers won't either. It comes down to the way that Android and Apple devices, iOS devices, iPhone, iPads work. Every program on that device is sandboxed. It's its own little world. It can't communicate with other programs on there. That's the same for all of them. Nothing allows for communication between the different programs. It's done so that way if a virus is created, which it can't, it's stuck inside its own little environment. It can't get out to the wider device.
Okay. So the solution to the Android virus default home system?
So the trick comes down to if you get an ad, you're playing a game or you're in an app that shows ads, which most of them do on Android. If your device says update the app or a new version of the app is required or a whole range of different things, your phone or tablet needs to be cleaned or it's got a virus, don't do anything. It's an ad, it's a scam. Close the program, go back into it, and you're okay. If, however, you do fall for it, the trick is go into settings on your Android device, which I'm going to do a screenshot here from my own phone showing this. Go into the settings. You then go to the apps section of the device in the settings, and then you go to the default apps section. Inside here, you'll see the different home or launcher default. Make sure it's set to the one from your manufacturer. Now, there's going to be a whole lot of different ones you can get, and different manufacturers, different home apps they use.
Yep.
But for the most part, you're going to see, if you've got something that's one of these viruses, you're going to see something like weather or solitaire or mahjong or Wi-Fi as the name of this app. If it's got that as your default, choose one of the other ones that's there, whether it be UAI Home or Pixel Home or Microsoft Home, whichever one you want to try and pick, whatever one you want to use. Once you've changed the default, go back into the app list, find that one that you saw before, and uninstall it off your phone. That's all you got to do. There is no virus cleaning up. It's just change the default app, remove the one you just had on there. Job is done.
Okay. You mentioned on Android you get a message full, this is a way to clean it, or you got too many photos, this is a way to clean it. You're saying it's only Android, but I've had those come up on my phone, and it's an Apple.
So those are, again, apps are trying to show you to do things on there, but they won't change the way your phone works. They just try and get on your phone. That way they can trick you into paying the money each month for doing things.
So even on Apple?
They're more ads. They're not the sort of viruses that people say you get on Android. But yes, you do get ads. In all devices, you get ads on all those sort of free programs. That's how the app makers get their money.
So Naplan, go back to pen and paper. SSDs by a mechanical hard drive, and Androids by an Apple. Sorry.
I'm not going to say that. That's from the normal.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's why I'm normal. I'm normal. I know. I haven't changed my phone in 5 or 6 years, so I don't know. I'm surprised that it's still working. That's good.
Surprisingly, I was literally just yesterday working on people's phones. They only just bought brand new phones yesterday. They've been using, without a problem at all, iPhone 6s.
iPhone 6? Goodness gracious me, I thought I was old with an iPhone 11.
But still works, keep it going. 11 years old and still working to this day. It's just because one of the companies they use want them to have a more modern phone. That's why they buy a new phone for. Oh, and that was still working perfectly fine for them.
Yeah, well, until mine actually dies and I have to cremate it, it's staying with me. I wish I had an iPhone 6. Anyone got an iPhone 6 for sale? No.
If you do, drop us a line, send us an email, go to nerdandnormalpodcast@gmail.com, or down below, comment. Tell
but
Gareth
make a
you've got an
comment down
iPhone
below
6.
saying, my iPhone is iPhone 1. I want to know if anyone's got an iPhone 1. Please like, comment, and share. And click the bell. And he's got the Android information down below.
All below.
Always down below. We sound like submariners. Keep on talking about down below.
I'll get that long hair organised.
Periscope. All right, we'll talk next week. Matthew, you have a good Naplan day.
You too, Gareth. See you next week.